Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So it's time for the Astrology and Kabbalah of the month of August 2022, and we'll get started right now. All right, so we're going to start first with the numerology of August 2022. So the first vibration we look at is the vibration of the month. Of course, August is the 8th month. And so we're looking at the vibration of 8. And a mantra for 8 is, as you sow, so shall you reap. And so 8 holds within it, or the month of August holds within it, a certain sense of reaping a harvest. What have you put your energy into? What do you get back from that? What kind of energy have you put out? How is that going to come back to you? Of course, we also look at the universal year vibration of 6. Remember, 2022 is the 6th year, and 6 is the vibration of responsibility and community. It's also the vibration of love. And so this year, the lesson of the whole year really is, how do we come together and be responsible for each other? How do we come together in community and support each other? And then if we take the two vibrations together, we get the unique vibration of August 2022, and that is a 14-5 vibration. That is considered a karmic debt number, and it is the vibration of the destroyer and the rebuilder. So let's look first at the 8 vibration. A lot of this information and the keywords that I'm getting are from this book, Numerology, Spiritual Light Vibrations. I don't know if you can see it, right? Because I have everything. By Jean. Okay. The monthly vibration of 8, if we notice that the 8 is the infinity symbol, and if we put the 8 on its side, it is the infinity symbol. And of course, you may see a lot of infinity symbols as you move through the month of August. We have power, authority, giving and receiving, a dependable organizer, the need to unify, reevaluation. Connected, this vibration is connected to the strength card in the tarot. Of course, the strength card is connected to the sign of Leo, where the sun spends most of the month in Leo, along with Mercury and Venus for part of the time, I believe. The Hebrew letter associated with this path, with this card, is Taith. Or the serpent. The serpent in this on the tree of life is the 19th path. The intelligence of the spiritual, the intelligence of the secret of all spiritual activities. Okay. Universal year vibration of 6. This is the vibration of truth, order, economy, deeper inner knowing, service, and responsibility. Here we reach the depths of our emotions. This is a love of home and family, and it is connected to the Lover's card in the tarot. Of course, the Lover's card is associated with the sign of Gemini. The Hebrew letter associated with this path is Zion, or the sword. This is the 17th path, known as the separating or disposing intelligence. And we can see the symbol is the sword here. If we add the two vibrations together and we get the unique vibration of August, we have the 14-5 vibration, known as the destroyer and rebuilder vibration. This is a karmic debt number. A karmic debt number, this means that we came here at this time and is experiencing what we are experiencing because we agreed to do it. So if you're wondering what you're doing here and what's going on, no, on some level you agreed to it. before you moved into this lifetime. This is one of the great destroyer and transformational or transformation vibrations. It usually expresses the energy of the physical plane. So this can be literally destruction on the physical plane. New original ideas and innovative concepts must be put into form and bring experiences of freedom and change in the outer plane. The base number of the 14-5 is a 5, and 5 is the number of freedom, but it is freedom based on responsibility. So it's not just willy-nilly freedom, you get to do what you want to do. How have you built your foundations, and how have they helped you to find the freedom to be yourself, to do what you do? There is an opportunity to bring balance in the physical things of life. This is the path of the mystic in the tree of life, on the tree of life, associated with the temperance card, which is associated with Sagittarius. The Hebrew letter associated with this path is Samet, which is a prop or a crutch, and it is the 25th path, the intelligence of trial or temptation. So we can expect to move through a trial by fire. We can expect to be tempted this month. This is sort of, Jesus walking through the desert for 40 days, right? So on the tree of life, we're going to look at the tree of life here and the 8 vibration. The 8 vibration activates the 19th path, the intelligence of the secret of all spiritual activities. This connects the Sephiroth Gebura with the Sephiroth Hesed. It is severity Gebura connected to mercy. It is the balance of cutting away and creating. We must practice balance in what we cut away and what we create. So it's not just about destruction of things. It is also about, in the process of letting go, we have the other process of moving into and creating something new. This vibration, the intelligence of the secret of all spiritual activities, and the symbol of the snake or the serpent, this is the Kundalini force. This is the Kundalini energy risen to the level of the throat chakra. This is the place of co-creation with spirit. This is divine will, where we step aside our own personal will for divine will. And so even though you may feel like what you're experiencing and what's going on with you is not necessarily what you want, on some level it's what you need, and it's on some level with what your spirit has decided to do in this lifetime. We are all here to bear witness to this great transformational process that we're all going through. We all have a place, we all have a part, and this strength card, this Leo vibration, the fact that the sun is in Leo, the fact that we're just coming off of a new moon in Leo, says it is time to shine your light, the light of love, the light of God that is within each of us, from our base chakra where the Kundalini lies sleeping, up all the way up through our crown as the Kundalini rises, and we have Kundalini or awakening or illuminating experiences. This is all about illumination for us. The 6th universal year vibration stimulates the 17th path, the separating or disposing intelligence. This path connects the Sephiroth Bina, understanding, to Tiphareth, beauty. Bina, the path of the divine feminine, or the Sephiroth of the divine feminine, the mother, the soul, the anima mundi, the creative core of the feminine principle, of bringing the forces of the masculine and concentrating them into form. This is the birth of the Christ consciousness, which we find in Tiphareth, from and through the energy of the mother, the great mother, the divine mother found in Baina. This is Isis, this is Mary, this is Mara, this is um, the feminine principle. And we can see over here in this beautiful sculpture, we have the mother and the child, and she's wearing a cloak of stars, a cloak of stars. In order to join, and this is the path of the Lover's card, which is a path of choice. In order to join, separation must first be acknowledged. And the 14-5 vibration. This activates the 25th path, the intelligence or trial or temptation. This is connecting the Sephiroth Tiphareth, beauty, to Yesod, foundation. The Sephiroth of the sun, Tiphareth, to the Sephiroth of the moon, Yesod. This is a path of spiritual initiation. We're all going through a spiritual initiation at this time. This is the path of the mystic. So we must walk the path 1 foot in front of the other and not get pulled off the path by getting caught up in extremes. We need to temper our actions, temper our feelings, and temperance is not simply avoiding extremes, but it's also avoiding extremes while we're exposed to extremes. And so just like when you temper steel and you put it in the fire and then bang the crap out of it and then plunge it into the water and then do it over and over and over again, that's the energy of this path. We are being made more erect, more upright, more, in a way, righteous. And this isn't just fake righteousness, but this is true righteousness. This is true. We are creating a path through the center of our bodies to hold and transfer and transmit the power of the divine through us, so that the divine may manifest through our capacity to manifest. This is the trial by fire. The mystery here is that the serpent of temptation is the Holy One, deliverer into liberation. Fire is the great illuminator. Through destruction or trials, as if by fire, all that covers or mars internal beauty is burned away, leaving behind the pure gold illumination of the Shining One, who is truth unveiled. The Shining One resides in Tiphareth, in the hearts. This is the place of the Redeemer. This is the place of the higher self. And all the things of the lower worlds, of the solar plexus, of the sacral chakra, of the root chakra, of the earth star chakra, all of that sort of, it becomes a conduit for this Shining One. And so what's happening is, what is being revealed at this time is our own true nature. And our own true nature is divine, and our own true nature is earthly. And it's the balance of those things, the divine and the earthly, that we see in this path, as Tiphareth is in the higher vibrational parts of ourselves, and Yesod sits in the center, the foundation of our physical existence. And here we have the tree of life, and I'll point out where these paths are. We have the 8th path, right? The path of the 8s, the strength card. Here we have the strength card connecting Geburah, the Sephiroth of Mars. This is the Sephiroth of the spiritual warrior. This is the place of instant karma. Nobody, when you're in this path, when you're on this path, when this path is activated, you don't get away with anything. You may think like for the moment you are, but ultimately cosmic justice has its way. And here is the path of the serpent, the 19th path. And on the other side, we have Hesed. Hesed associated with Jupiter. Jupiter, the expansive principle, right? The expansive principle. In this month, Mars is in Taurus. And at the end of the month, I believe it goes into Gemini. And we have Jupiter in Aries all month. It is moving retrograde, however. So it's about a reevaluation of our beliefs, of these new ideas that have come to us. It's time to reevaluate. It's time to see if they really can hold the promise that you think they hold. So this is located, so this path is located along one of the rungs of the ladder, right? So it's a path of balance. So we must have great balance at this time. And so there are a lot of things that are going to happen. You need to keep your balance through all of it. If you feel yourself getting nervous or getting too excited or seeing yourself getting too anxious, it's time to just come back to the breath. Just come back to the breath. It's the easiest way to find your center. Follow in and out, no matter what the situation. Breathing is not optional, it's necessary, but controlled breathing is a very powerful way of dealing with your anxiety and how you walk through this very chaotic time on planet Earth. If we look at the sixth vibration, which of course we've been looking at all year, we see that it connects Baina, the place of Saturn, with the sun. Now, Saturn is in Aquarius now. So at towards the end, the latter part of the month, we're going to see the sun opposing Saturn, right? So this path becomes clear in its way. The opposition brings awareness, the awareness of the structure of things, the awareness of how spirit manifests within us. Tiphereth, this is the sun, our integrative principle, the core of our being, right? The center of our system, and associated with the heart chakra. And then, of course, we have Baina up here, the Sephirah of understanding, the feminine, the divine feminine. Mother Mary is up here, right? All the goddesses are up here. And then this is the path in which she manifests the sun. S-O-N-S-U-N, the Christ consciousness. All the Redeemer gods live or are associated with Tiphereth, Christ, Mithra, Osiris. If you want to know the other Redeemer gods, you can check out Joseph Campbell's A Hero with Many Faces, I think the name of it is. But he talks about this. And then lastly, the unique energy of August 2022. Where does that lie? Well, it lies on this path right here, right down the center of the tree. Here we have Tiphereth. This is the place of the higher self. Here we have Yesod. This is the lower self. And this is the path that connects it. This is the path of the holy guardian angel. This is the path of the mystic. It is narrow and it is steep and it is sometimes rocky. And so you need to use all your attention to walk this path. So this month is very much about being mindful. Okay, it's associated with Sagittarius. It's associated with the truth, not of what somebody says or who's right or who's wrong, but the truth of yourself. Who are you? Who are you? If we look at these vibrations and how they activate the tree of life and what chakras are associated with it, we can see that the 8th vibration is completely located within the throat chakra, connecting Gabura to Hesed. The 8th vibration is located in Vishuddha, the throat chakra, known as purification. The 6th vibration. The 6th vibration spans the abyss. The abyss sits between the supernal triangle, which is here, and the lower triangle of the soul. Okay, the abyss sits here, and this path crosses the abyss. Okay, and it crosses the abyss, connecting the third eye, Anja, to perceive or command, to through its connection to Baina, the divine feminine, to the heart chakra, Anahata, unstruck. The sound that is made, it is the sound of creation. It is the Om, right? It is the love of the divine expressing itself in our own creation. Anahata through Tiphereth, through its connection to Tiphereth. And then the 14.5 vibration activates the heart chakra, which is found in Tiphereth, to the sacral chakra, which is found in Yesod. Yesod is the place of foundations. It's like a etheric blueprint of everything that can be manifested, right? It's sort of the pre-manifestation stage. And so this is an opportunity for the divine to come in and inform and energize that blueprint of manifestation so that we can bring heaven onto earth through Malkuth. And that path right here is the path of Saturn. So Saturn ends up being very, very important to this. Well, Saturn is important in all months, right? But Saturn is especially important now. Saturn in Aquarius square the nodes of the moon, asking us to look to the past, to understand the shadow, to forgive it, to release it, and to move on to the essential needs that we have at this moment. All right, so we're going to look at the astrology of the week ahead. Just the first week, week 1, August 1st to August 6th. I put a little thing here. That icon was explosion. So this is sudden change. We're going to see some sudden change this first week. But before we get to the first week, let's do a little, instead of looking at the highlights of the first week, let's look at the pre-lights of the week before, because a lot of things happened in this last week of July. We started with a new moon at 6 degrees of Leo. That occurred on the 28th of July. That moon was in a trine to Jupiter, which stationed retrograde the very same day. When the outer planets station, they create a lot of power and a lot of energy. And of course, Jupiter is as energetic as you get. And Aries is as energetic as anything Jupiter can be in. And so it's this fire energy. It's this trial by fire. It's this burning away of the dross of the lower self so that we can be our most complete, integrated, loving self. We also had Mercury make a first quarter square to Uranus the week before, in the last week of July. First quarter squares are crisis in action. The important connection between Mercury and Uranus is that Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. And so Mercury is how we take in information. But Uranus is the information that comes from the past, our past lives, our future possibilities. It's our individuated unconscious. So it lies just below our conscious awareness. And when it gets activated, it comes in as these very often erratic ideas. Sometimes, where did that come from? When you say, where did that come from? It came from Uranus, right? When you remember something from the past, suddenly it comes up and you're like, whoa, I can't believe I remembered that. That's Uranus. When you suddenly have these feelings that you've been someplace before and you get all this deja vu, that's Uranus. That's Uranus. And so when we have Mercury squaring, we are seeking to understand that part of ourselves. We also have Mercury making an opposition to Saturn. Both Saturn and Mercury are square the nodes of fate at this time. And so when that happens, it creates a grand square with the nodes of faith. Grand squares are very stressful aspects. They have a lot of tension in them. And when you're dealing with the cross of the fixed signs, it's known as the cross of the soul, okay? The grand cross of the soul, we're dealing with deep emotional subscara, right? Like deep emotions that have been dug over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And what we're trying to do at this time is break free from that. That's why it's so intense And it seems like people are like bringing the past up, like they want the past to come back, but it won't come back. It's not here to come back. It's here to be looked at, evaluated, and let go. And ultimately, the past will be let go and we will move forward. It just depends on how much pain people want to go through. We also have Uranus on today, actually, I'm doing this on the 31st. Uranus making a conjunction to the North Node at 19 degrees of Taurus. You're going to hear that degree of Taurus a lot. There's a lot of 19 degrees of Taurus. So this last week of July is a highly energetic setup as we move into the month of August, right? The month of August, we're in the 14-5 in the month of August. In July, we were in the 13-4, the Scorpio vibration, the death card, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting it all out, so to speak, right? And now we move into this place of walking the path of the mystic. So here's the highlights of week 1. We have August 1st, and we're not going to go over all of this, but we're going to go over quite a bit, the most important stuff, I think, that we need to look at. So we have August 1st, we have Mercury making an inconjunct to Neptune. When Mercury, first of all, inconjuncts are an energy of sort of missing mark. It's like it's hard to figure out. You need to make adjustments in the way you think about things because we're dealing with Mercury and just in the nature of this particular inconjunct. So it's a Mercury side inconjunct, a Virgo side inconjunct. So this is questioning ourselves. Can we live up to the idealism of Neptune? So we sometimes have in trouble with this energy of interpreting the signs, knowing if we're doing the right thing, knowing, so there's some doubt here. Can we sort of, are we able to do this very challenging work, perhaps, right? So you might be asking yourself that. On the same day, August 1st, we have Mars conjunct Uranus. Okay, this happens every 2 years, so it's not that unusual. But the fact that it's happening on the North Node is very, very important. Very important. Today's conjunction of Uranus to the North Node, the last time that happened was 2007. That doesn't happen very often, right? But the last time I believe that this conjunction of Mars and Uranus was close to the North Node was something like 18 something, I think they said. I can't quite remember, but it was a long, long time ago. On August 2nd, we have Venus make a sextile to Uranus. This stimulates our need for fun and excitement in your social and love life. So Venus sextile Uranus, you're open up to all kinds of new things. We also have Mercury making inconjunct to Pluto. Mercury is having a hard time. It's inconjunct Neptune, it's inconjunct Pluto. It's sort of stuck in this yod formation, perhaps. Mercury in Leo. Mercury in Leo is very subjective, and it's being influenced by Uranus and Neptune, which are planets that connect us to our galactic inheritance. So our galactic relationships are more collective, very, very collective relationships. And so it's this idea of the individual mind being influenced in such a way that we need to change the way we think about things because of our exposure to higher vibrational frequencies. We also have Mars conjunct the North Node at 19 degrees of Taurus. There's that 19 degrees of Taurus again. Great energy to move courageously into the unknown future. So Mars makes us want to move forward. We're impelled. We're impelled to move forward. In Taurus, slowly, if not explosively, kind of like a bull in a china shop. So there might be some bull in the china shop moments in this first week. And we have Venus make a sextile to Mars. So Venus made a sextile to Uranus. Venus made a sextile to Mars. Mars and Uranus conjoined the day before. So the two planets, Venus and Mars, associated with relationships are being exposed to this transpersonal energies of Uranus, out of the box, unusual. Okay, so this is the energy. Venus sextile Mars, mental stimulation in relationships, curiosity, socialization. It's really a beautiful, Mars sextile Venus is a beautiful energy. And Mars and Venus have had a pretty interesting ride this year, and we'll get into that a little in a couple of slides. August 4th, we have Mercury ingress into a sign of its rulership, Virgo. The Sabian symbol for Virgo is a portrait in a portrait, the significant features of a man's head are artistically emphasized, kind of like a caricature, really, I guess. The capacity to picture oneself clearly, the salient figures, and the overall meaning of any life situation. And the key word here is discrimination. That's what Virgo is all about. Virgo is about discrimination. It's about discernment. In Leo, we think everything is great. We created it, it must be wonderful. In Virgo, we kind of find the chinks in the armor. And then we find ways to improve upon what was created in Leo so that it can sustain itself when it's exposed to other people, which is the next sign of Libra. So we may think we have all these great ideas, but Virgo will certainly prove it to us whether that's true and what kind of work we need to get that. And it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind because Mercury is the first planet to move into Virgo of the planets, of the personal planets. On August 5th, we have a first quarter moon. This is the crisis in action moon. This was planted, the action are on the seeds planted at that new moon in Leo, which occurred on the 28th of July. Vibrationally, it's a 41.5. That is the Ace of Cups. That is the Ace of Cups. So that new moon energy was really a quest for happiness and a quest for love. And the Ace of Cups, if you look at the card, the Ace of Cups, the water is coming out of the cup, and it's pouring down over humanity. And so there is always love, and the more you love, the more love you have to love. It's one of the few things that the more you use it, the more you have. We also have Venus making in conjunct to Saturn on the 5th, and this is a tendency to take on more responsibility than necessary. So be aware that there's a lot to do, but you do have to temper yourself from taking on too much, because it is going to be an arduous journey. And you'll find on this arduous journey up the side of the mountain that there are a lot of things you thought you couldn't live without that you will shed. All right, so let's look at more specifically. Let's look at Mars conjunct Uranus. This happens on the 1st of August. This is a 15-6 vibration. It's the devil card in the tarot, and it is also associated with the sign of Capricorn. In this chart, we do have Pluto and Capricorn in that 12th house. This is a chart for the US. I apologize to anybody else who might be wondering what's happening where they live. But because the US is such an important country in the realm of, as the US goes, a lot of other people go. It is considered one of the seats of democracy. Certainly the first, as far as we know, the first time democracy came to the New World, although the Iroquois might have something to say about that. That's another story for another day. But 19 degrees of Taurus, a new continent rising out of the sea, the surge of new potentiality after crisis. So this conjunction of Uranus to the North Node at 19 degrees, Mars and Uranus conjunct at 19 degrees, and then Mars conjunct the North Node at 19 degrees, brings up this idea of a new continent rising out of the ocean. This picture to the right is actually the continent of Zealandia. It's part of New Zealand. You probably recognize this here as New Zealand, but this is the continent. They call it the eighth continent. I don't know if it's rising out of the sea or it's sunk down in the sea, but I think New Zealand would be a cool place to have a new world order, right? And I mean that in the best possible way, not the old. I hate the fact that they use that expression, that Bush used that expression, because there's a certain amount of truth to it, the 1,000 points of light and all that stuff, but not in the way that perhaps they wanted it to happen. We are the 1,000 points of light. We are the stars. We are all stars in the making. We are all from the stars. If we look at this chart, we have an Aquarius ascendant. Well, that's kind of interesting because the ruling planet of Aquarius is Uranus, and this is Uranus conjunct Mars. In the United States chart here, it is falling in the third house. In a mundane chart, the third house is transportation. With Mars and Uranus and the tension, I would be very careful about being on any kind of transportation. It's possible we might see some sort of accidents or incidents on these with this energy. So be aware. This is also the third house of the siblings, so things may blow up in your relationship with your siblings. More important, actually, if how this falls in your chart. So wherever you have 19 degrees of Taurus in your chart is where this need to take an action that will break us free from the constraints that we feel are holding us back. So there's this energy of, I no longer want to be held back by these constraints. Here we have Mars conjunct the North Node. This is occurring on the 2nd at 19 degrees of Taurus. Same thing, new continent rising out of the ocean, a surge for new potentiality after crisis. But this is a little different in that we're dealing with Mars, which is action, activity, right? Stimulation. Mars activates a chart on the North Node, the direction of our collective destiny. In Taurus, our collective destiny is what is essential. Our collective destiny is connected to our relationship, 7th house, with the earth, Taurus. Okay, the ruler of that North Node is in Cancer, 1747, 18 degrees of Cancer. It is sextile the North Node. It is sextile Mars. Venus in Cancer is about the need to nurture. We need to nurture ourselves. We need to nurture our children. We need to nurture the hungry. Food, shelter. That's what's important at this time. And we have to realize it. That is the most important thing, above all. So here we're looking at Venus, right? Venus is doing her thing. Venus gal is doing her thing. And here we have Venus making a waxing sextile to Uranus and Venus making a waxing sextile to Mars. Remember, Mars and Uranus just made a conjunction the day before. Now Venus comes along. Now Venus is a bit an influence of this, so it's not like all of a sudden she's there and they're not expecting her. They saw her coming through the door. They saw her coming up the path when this was all happening. Venus in Cancer. So 19 degrees of Cancer, where Venus sits as she sextiles this new continent rising out of the ocean. 19 degrees of Cancer, a priest performing a marriage ceremony, the ritualization of productive interpersonal relationships. We have to get along. We have to work together to create this new world. It's not about being on opposite sides of the aisle. It's about working together, and sextiles intimate communication and understanding. And so we need to talk to one another in new ways of relating. Okay. The old ways of relating, men had all the power, women didn't. The new way of relating, we co-creative and we share the power. This is about power sharing. If we look at this, we have Venus making the sextile to Uranus. This is for the Washington, D.C. So this is sort of a United States chart. We can see Venus up there, very close to Black Moon Lilith in Cancer. Black Moon Lilith is where we can go to extremes in Cancer, extremes of care, extremes of taking care of, okay? And then here we have Uranus in the 9th house, the 11th house and the 9th house. The 9th house is the judiciary. The 11th house is the Senate, the Congress, right? So this is in a way political for them to come up with new ideas and new laws here, new laws. And then over here we have Venus and Mars making the sextile. Here's Mars here in the 2nd house of our values, our resources, and here's Venus here in the 4th house, home. How can we utilize our resources to build housing for people, for people to feel safe where they are, right? But with Uranus there, the places that we thought were safe maybe are not so safe because of what's happening on the planet with global warming. If you think that we can go along and not pay attention, you're not paying attention, right? We need to pay attention to our relationship to the earth. Now, I want to show you a little, because this is about Venus's journey. And I want to show you the beginning, the first Venus sextile Uranus is the first Ptolemaic aspect, 60 degrees, that these two planets come into contact with each other. So what happened when these two planets were conjunct? What was going on at that time? Well, we had Venus and Uranus conjunct at 17 degrees of Taurus. This was the start of the cycle between Venus and Uranus. You know, Uranus is now a little bit further along, not much, 2 degrees. Uranus moves very slowly, okay? So we have the Venus-Uranus synodic cycle began on June 11th. 11 is a master number, 2022. When you add that up, we get a 22-4, another master number, master spiritual builder number. So Venus and Uranus is new relationships, new kinds of relationships, relating in a new way, in a more progressive way, in a more humanitarian way, in a more equal way. Equanimity here. At 17 degrees of Taurus, Venus and Uranus as a planetary pair revolves around the freedom within relationships, both your relationship to yourself. Do you allow yourself to be yourself, or do you hold back because you're afraid somebody's not going to like you, or you're afraid you're going to, I don't know, be ostracized for being yourself? And your relationship to others, when you relate to somebody else, are you being true to who you are? Because if you're not being true to who you are, you're not being true to them. And so this is about authenticity. Authenticity. So this conjunction at 17 degrees of Taurus is a symbolic battle between swords and torches. Swords is the mind, torches is spirit. So in the tarot, swords, the mental, torches or wands, the spiritual. It says the keynote here is refusing to depend upon the past. Venus, Uranus, depending upon the past, like when abortion was illegal and not a constitutional right, right? The seeker turns warrior, fighting anew the eternal great war. Well, what is that great war? Well, Dan Rudger continues, the spiritual light within the greater soul must struggle against the ego will that only knows how to use the powers of this material and intellectual world. The ego, its purview is the mind and the manifested and how to manifest on the physical plane, right? There is no possibility of escape. It It is the energy that arises out of the present moment, the inescapable now that the daring individual has to use in the struggle. So this is the struggle between the higher self and the lower self, the struggle we see on the path of the mystic, the path of spiritual initiation. If we look at the initial conjunction of this, we can see that we had Venus and Uranus conjunct in a close conjunction to the north node of the moon. This wasn't that long ago. So the north node of the moon was, now the north node of the moon is at 19 degrees. So it's even closer to this original conjunction. And we also see that Mercury was within a 10-degree orb of Uranus here. And this is Uranus to Mercury is a new phase. So this was new ideas coming out, everything with the new ways of relating, new ways. And it's in the 6th house here. The 6th house is the house of health. It's the house of world service. It's the house of the military. It's the house of pets. It is kind of how we take care of each other, honestly. We also had the moon in this particular conjunction. We had the moon close to the south node in Scorpio. Moon in Scorpio is very deep feeling, right? And so we had an awareness. So what happens back when these two, Venus and Uranus, came together, we had a view from Scorpio, the past, conjunct the south node. And so we saw a possible future while we were still sort of in the past. Now, at this time, for those of you who follow the abortion issue, at this time we knew about the opinion, but we did not know if they were going to go with it. If they were going to go with it. So, and they did. So we do have a lot of work ahead of us, folks. And now I want to look at Venus and Mars, because the relationship of Venus and Mars is the journey of relationship. Venus and Mars made two conjunctions, two initial conjunctions. The first at 17 degrees of Capricorn, as we can see here. We see it's also within orb, a 10-degree orb of Pluto. So it was conjunct Pluto widely. And then the second one, and if you notice here, it's Venus. You can't see it. Venus is retrograde here. No, Venus. No, Venus is direct here. Okay, sorry. And then the second time it happened was March 6th. So we had it also conjunct Pluto, but if you notice, it's on the other side of Pluto, because the Venus and the Mars made a conjunction in Aquarius. So the first conjunction it made in Capricorn. Capricorn is much more traditional. The second conjunction is Aquarius, much more out of the box. And so this synodic cycle between Venus and Mars, how we relate to one another, has the influence of the past and the future within it. Now, if we look here at the chart, we have an Aries rising chart for the first one here, and we have Pluto and Venus and Mars up here in the 10th house. This is the most public house, and then we have the second time it's in the first house of the I am, right? The I am. But let's look at the symbols for these, where these conjunctions occurred, because I think it's very, very interesting. So the synodic cycle of Venus and Mars began twice. The initial conjunction was at 17 degrees of Capricorn on 2/16/2022. That vibrates to a 24/6. That is the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Wands. And she is associated with the sign of Leo and with the sign of Aries, but mostly Leo. This occurred at 17 degrees of Capricorn. Check out this Sabian symbol. A repressed woman finds psychological release in nudism. The escape from bondage to social inhibitions and reliance upon the wisdom of the body. Reliance upon the wisdom of the body. This is what the North Node in Taurus is asking us to do. second conjunction occurred on 3/6/2022. That is a 15/6 vibration. That is the devil card and associated with Capricorn. So we have both in both of these through the degree of Capricorn, and then this connection to Capricorn here, okay? At 1 degree of Aquarius. 1 degree of Aquarius is an old adobe mission in California, power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. And so this is about what we're going to build in our relationships has to last beyond our own lifetimes, right? Beyond our own lifetimes. The interesting thing about this conjunction between Mars and Venus is back at the end of 2020, Saturn and Jupiter started a new synodic cycle at 1 degree of Aquarius. And so this 1 degree of Aquarius gets activated over and over again. It is us moving into the Aquarian age. We're in the process of that. A lot of people ask, when's the day? When is it actually happening? It is a process that has been happening for centuries. The difference is we're becoming more and more aware of it. And as soon as we become more aware of the process, then the process can take over and have it be a full expression of that. On August 5th, we have our first quarter moon. It vibrates to a 19/1, August 5th, 2022. That is the Sun card, one of the other cards associated with Leo. We have a crisis first quarter moon, the first quarter moon of that new moon in Leo. Crisis in action, Sun at 14 of Leo, Moon at 14 of Scorpio. We know that the moon here is very close to the south node. The Sun is squaring the nodes of the moon, right? The Sun will eventually, I believe it's the second week, maybe the third week, second week, third week. On the 14th, the Sun is going to make an opposition to Saturn. Okay, that's that path between Bina and Tiphereth. Okay, when we're aware of something, but it's moving into that opposition. It is squaring the nodes. The resolution node for the Sun square the nodes is the North Node in Taurus. So we need to move into the future here. So this is the first. This is the crisis. You need to take an action to build the foundations to support whatever seed was planted at that new moon. And the new moon is a conservative, old-fashioned lady is confronted by a hippie girl. So this is about the generations coming to really understand each other and to come together and to move forward, right? To come together and move forward. Because after the exact square of the Sun to the moon joins the south node. It then opposes Uranus and then Mars, bringing some awareness of what you need to let go of before you can move in a new direction, the direction of our collective destiny. This is the part of that destiny. A part of that destiny lies in our ability to nurture ourselves and others. Ruler of the North Node in Cancer. On August 5th, we also have Venus making in conjunct to Saturn. This is where we maybe take on too much responsibility, if you remember me saying that. And here we have the need for mental adjustments when it comes to our resources. What do we want to accomplish with those resources? It's easy to overpromise, and your intention may be pure, but if you can't back it up with action or you can't back it up with resources, you might as well not say it. So this is where the discernment comes in, and inconjuncts are always about discernment. We need to prioritize at this time. This is part of the synodic cycle that began with the Venus-Saturn conjunction back on the 28th of March 2022 at 22 degrees of Aquarius. And here we have the symbol for that is a rug placed on the floor of a nursery to allow children to play in comfort and warmth. The warmth of understanding which comes to those who in early life are open to new possibilities. It may seem like the future is scary and horrible and the like, but the truth of the matter is that this is an opportunity. This is a golden opportunity for us to create the future in a more fair, equitable, Aquarian way. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort, but spirit is on our side because we are spirit. Spirit isn't against us. Spirit is for us. We're all evolving together. And so I can't lie to you and say it's going to be a cakewalk, because you wouldn't believe me anyway, because it hasn't been a cakewalk up to now, right? But you have the capacity, you have the ability. And when things get too hard, just breathe, folks, just breathe. So next Sunday, I'll be doing the next week ahead. I'm going to go week by week again. I think it's the best way to go. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, share them with who you would like. I do these as a service, as part of my service to humanity, actually, and in hopes of enlightening more and more people about the power of the stars and the power of the tree of life and the power of understanding our path. If you would like a reading with me, you can look below. There is a link, and I do astrology, Kabbalah, and numerology readings called Kabbalistic Life Readings. The first one is a 90-minute reading. That's the one I usually suggest as your first. The second ones after that, you can do an hour. The prices are on my website, and I think they're very reasonable for the amount of information that you get. And I'd be happy to do that for you. And we need each other, guys. We need each other. So shine your light, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, everyone. I love you all. Namaste.